Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining. My name's SullyCortez. We're going to start the live stream in just a moment. Just let some people fill in here. Okay. Get started in 1 second. Hey, we have some people watching. All right, great. All right. Today's live stream is why you should use an external recorder. Now, let me just pull up my notes here so we can hit the topics that I want to discuss. Thank you for joining the live stream. If you're watching the replay, leave some comments below. Thank you very much for checking it out. If you don't know who I am, just go ahead and go to my YouTube channel, go to my Facebook page. You'll find all the links in the description. Check me out on Instagram. Check me out on IMDB as well. All right. We're going to talk about my top reasons why you should use an external recorder. I'll talk about the pros and I'll talk about the cons. And maybe you guys in the live chat that are watching right now, you can give me some feedback on whether you use an external recorder and what you guys think about it. So, one of the top reasons why I think you should use an external recorder is data rates and flexibility. So, data rates and flexibility. When you're recording on typical DSLR cameras like the by the way, and let me know if my audio is too loud or anything in the live chat. I'm actually using a lav mic. So, and again, I'm using OBS. The phone, I don't know, it wouldn't work. Okay, so data rates and flexibility. When you're using cameras like DSLRs or mirrorless or other small cameras like that, they tend to have high compression. And compression is literally what kills your image. And using an external recorder bypasses that compression, and you can record to a much better codec like ProRes, for example, or DNx HD, which is the Avid, I believe, type of codec. And now those codecs recorded extremely high bit rates as well, and those bit rates are what give you the flexibility in post to manipulate the image as much as you can. Now, if you're recording an 8-bit, the highest you're probably going to be able to go is 422 8-bit. If you're recording in 10-bit, I'm not sure if you can go 444 10-bit. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's 422. But having the extra bits in post allows a greater flexibility for moving your image around, controlling your image. And it also allows for better compatibility with other cameras. You can use log profiles that at a higher data rate and a higher bit rate that allow you to push the image to match and grade with other cameras. So, that's easier. And then another reason why I think, try not to shake the camera here. Another reason why I think you should use external recorders, especially some of the ones that have recently come out, like the video devices PIXE 5, the Atomos Shogun Inferno, or the Atomos, the Odyssey 7Q Plus, is it's a monitor, and you can well, most of them are monitors. Some companies make some that don't have monitors, like I forget what it's called, but Atomos makes one. I know it's a tiny little Ninja box that only records. It doesn't actually have a monitor. But the ones that do have monitors, it's a monitor built in with an external recorder. So not only are you getting the benefits of an external recorder, the higher data rate, the higher bit rate, you're also getting the benefits of an insanely good monitor. Now, these external monitors, I've used the Shogun and I've used the PIXE. I own the PIXE 5. It's right here. These external recorders have amazing monitors. At least the PIXE 5 and the Shogun does. Especially the new Shoguns, which have a 10-bit panel and allow you to see in 10-bit, and you can actually even grade in 10-bit directly on the newer Atomos monitors, which are monitor external recorders, which are amazing. But not only is it a monitor, not only is it a good screen, not only do you have all the benefits of a monitor, you also get things like waveform, vector scope, false color. Some monitors don't have these particular tools, external recorders for the most part do. And in the case of the PIXE, which is an add-on for the PIXE 5, you can actually have high quality audio go directly into the external recorder, directly into the file, muxed with the video, so you don't actually have to record sync sound, which is beneficial because it speeds up your post workflow. Now, the Atomos and some of the other monitors on the market, they don't come with like, and if they do, it's like an XLR breakout box, but some of them don't come with XLR in. The PIXE does. It is an add-on for the PIXE 5, but I think it's worth it because you can get phantom power and XLR in two times and XLR out 2 times, which is great. So, you know, it's really, really helpful on set. Another thing, too, is that the external monitors allow playback ability. So if you're on set and you're shooting, let's say you're on a shoulder rig, and the director wants to see playback of the footage, or the director wants to see a live feed with an external recorder, some monitors don't have pass-through, HDMI pass-through, where you go in and then you can go out to another monitor, or you can go out to a wireless receiver. The external recorders, the majority of them do. In fact, I don't think I've seen one that doesn't have HDMI pass-through, let alone has SDI pass-through. So you can go in HDMI and out SDI, or you can go in SDI and out HDMI, whatever you want, which is amazing. That's so versatile. And I know the PIXE does that. I don't know if the Odyssey 7Q Plus does that. I do know the Shogun Inferno does that. And that's awesome, because you can have it go to a wireless receiver or transmitter, and then that goes to a receiver at Video Village, and you don't actually need to be standing anywhere near the camera itself to be able to watch the live feed, which is sick. So my other top reason why I think you should use an external recorder is it's a time saver. Now, a lot of people won't look at this and say it's a time saver because they'll say, well, it's big. I mean, this thing is not small. You know, this is huge. Let me show you this. This is my A6500, right? So here's the A6500, relatively small camera. Here, I'll grip it with this arm. Relatively small camera, right? If I were to throw this on the hot shoe, I mean, okay, yeah, it's bigger than the camera, and I can understand how this would be laughable, and I could totally understand how this would, you would think that this would hinder your workflow and your production. Personally, I don't think it does. While this may be ridiculous because it's huge, and you may not need it for something like the A6500, because the A6500, in fact, all Sony cameras, they only transmit a 8-bit 422 signal out of the HDMI. No alpha camera can do 10-bit out the HDMI. Unfortunately, that's a limitation Sony's implemented. But if you were to use that combination, yes, it would be beneficial because you're shooting 8-bit 422. But in a small little camera like that, I don't think it would be practical. At least to have the phantom power and the whole 9 yards with this. Maybe just the monitor if I were to take the PIXE off, at least with this particular unit, the video device's PIXE 5. If you were to take the PIXE off, then fine, maybe. It might be a little bit more practical, but for something like a rig or a drone or a gimbal or pretty much anything other than just a small camera handheld like this, it is beneficial because when you bring that into post, all of your audio, all of your video will be, well, not only will the audio be synced, but it'll be ready to edit, and you don't have to waste time transcoding. Some of the cameras that are out there, they shoot in weird codecs, and you have to actually transcode before, or proxy before you can actually start editing. Shooting externally, you can go to an awesome codec like ProRes and immediately start editing. You don't have to wait for transcoding. You don't have to sit around and twiddle your thumbs thinking, man, I wish I could just get to editing, but I can't because I have to wait for this computer to proxy. And like on my old laptop, it literally, I'm not even kidding, it took 48 hours to proxy 5 hours of footage from the GH4. And that's just the GH4, and that's proxying like who the hell wants to wait around 40? That's 2 days. That's why I got a new computer, the one that I'm using right now, so that I was able to edit, because I couldn't even edit and it was a nightmare. And once I started shooting externally and I got the new computer could handle the external recorded codec amazingly well. No lag at all whatsoever in scrubbing through the timeline. So, you know, it really did save a lot of time, and I didn't have to wait around for transcoding. And I had high quality video and high quality audio all in one place at the maximum that the camera would allow me to shoot. Why you wouldn't want to shoot at the max ability that your camera can do, I don't understand. I personally think you should shoot at the max ability that your camera can shoot at, because let's say, while now maybe shooting, you know, 4K and delivering 4K might not be practical for everybody, especially if your only medium is YouTube or Facebook or anything like that, where once your footage goes in, it gets literally compressed to hell. And it's funny, I don't know if you guys watch the YouTube channel Wolf Crow, but he made a funny statement the other day. He was like, compression is where good cameras come to die. And I totally agree with that statement, because you could have amazing footage. You could be shooting Cinema DNG RAW, you know, 16-bit, and have it be awesome on the red, and then you bring it to YouTube, and it literally, you might as well have just shot on an iPhone, because you get in the same quality, because the compression is just so horrible that it's not even worth it at that point. Well, some might argue that it's not even worth it. MKBHD might argue that it is worth it, and I definitely agree with him that it is worth it, even if it's going to YouTube. But I digress. Just simply saying that if you record in the highest medium, down the road, maybe 4K will become the norm. I think it's going to, because by 2020, they did say 8K will be the standard. We're shooting the Olympics in 2020 at 8K. That is 110% happening. And if you don't think it is, well, guess what? You're wrong. So it is happening. And with that said, 4K is definitely going to become the 1080. And we'll look back and go, wow, 1080 is like 720 now, and 4K is like 1080, and 8K is like 4K. And it's only going to go up from there until it becomes like literally virtual augmentation reality, I guess. But back on topic, why I think you should use a recorder. Now, let me just go through, those are some of the pros on why I think you should use an external recorder. For counter-argue's sake, let me go through some of the cons on why and when I think you shouldn't use an external recorder. So, and there's not many, because I do think you should be using an external recorder and recording the max that the camera's, the max ability that the camera can all the time. But there are some times that, you know, something like that may actually hinder your workflow, and you really just want to get in and get out. So one of the cons is weight. And with something like this, with the PIXE 5, I can definitely see, it's not light, you know, it's not, this weighs, I'm not even kidding, weighs more than the A6500 with an adapted Sigma lens on here. It weighs more than this camera. So in that instance, like I said before, no, I don't think you should be using an external recorder directly on top. Maybe if you're on a tripod, if you had this on a tripod and then you had this on like an articulating arm, like the Bright Tangerine Titan arm, if you had that, then okay, that's totally practical. But that extra weight, especially with a cage, like this has a cage on it too, so that's adding even more weight. When you're just going small handheld like that, it's totally okay to just go small handheld like that. Get what you got to get in, get out, make sure your profiles look good, make sure the picture looks good, so that when you get into post and you're competing with that higher end footage, you don't have to do a lot of work degrading the image. You can just do small minor corrections and just get it matching as close as you possibly can, you know, without, again, degrading the image. Tangling, that is another thing. Now, I want to keep bringing up the PIXE 5 because I want to show you, it's really a good way to kind of show you what I'm talking about. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 ports on here. When you have this fully rigged out, you're probably using, all right, well, maybe you won't use the 2.5 millimeter in or 3.5 millimeter in, but you're literally using at least 10 of these ports. That's 10 cables. 10 cables. Whereas you would normally just have one that would go from your camera into the HDMI or SDI in. But when you've got everything fully rigged out, you're literally talking 10 cables dangling off this thing. It starts to look like an octopus, and it starts to get all over the place, and it's really annoying. And when you have it rigged out like that, it's very difficult to move it wherever you want. Like, if you had like a small HD monitor, right? A director, if you were on a shoulder rig, could come from behind, or a focus puller, and look at the monitor. And if you had a nice articulating arm, like the Bright Tangerine Titan arm, you could kind of move it around and articulate it wherever you wanted to, and it may only have one cable going in. But an external recorder, you really do need like 4, 5, 6 cables going in to get everything to go in all at once while you're recording. Whereas a monitor, just a regular monitor, you kind of don't. So it becomes a nightmare when you want to just move this thing around on your rig, and you really can't because you've got so many cables going all over the place. It just hinders the ability to maneuver it. So that's another con about using an external recorder. And then my last kind of discussion on that, well, I've got two more. My last discussion, one of the last things I want to say is that file size and management. So many people hate using external recorders because when you record in something like ProRes HQ or ProRes, just even regular ProRes, the file sizes become massive. On the Sony a6500 external 8-bit 422, I think it's like an hour of video shooting at just regular ProRes comes out to, I want to say like 6 gigs. When you're shooting 10-bit 422 external off the GH4 and now the GH5, which I have sitting over right there, and let's say you want ProRes HQ, you're talking like 30 gigs for 20 minutes of footage, 100 gigs for a half hour of footage, 200 gigs plus for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of footage. And that's insane. Those are huge, huge files, huge. When you edit them, if you have a computer that can handle ProRes, it handles it no problem. But it's just the storage. You now have to get external hard drives. You now have to get more storage. And that can quickly add up financially. And that is one big con about using external recorders, no matter which external recorder you're using, whether it records on SD cards, or whether it records on SSDs, or whether it records on mSATA drives. It doesn't matter. The medium costs money, and the storage costs money. And those are things that you have to factor in when using an external recorder. And those are some cons that turn people off to using external recorders. And I totally understand that. And another thing, too, about using an external recorder, just briefly, is that when you have something like a shade over it, and you'll see on like higher-end big budget productions, they actually have duvetine over the entire monitor, and the duvetine wraps around like an old school photographer using a large format old school film camera. They would literally pull the duvetine over them so that it's completely dark and pitch black in there. Now, the argument can be made when using monitors like this, external recorders, doing something like that will get you a much easier time focusing and seeing your image up close and personal. However, using something like this guy, which is a new product I'm actually doing a review on by a guy named Chris Engel. He actually makes them and sells them on eBay. This is a A6500 iCup. Using something like this, right, would in bright sunlight, would be so much more practical and easier for smaller cameras like A6500, GH4, GH5, if you're not shooting externally, because this particular unit is only made for the A6500. I'll be doing a review on it. I'll actually be releasing the review shortly after this live stream, so look for it. It'll be on my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, subscribe and click the notifications. Join the notification squad so that you can get the update when the review drops. And I'll also be doing a couple other reviews coming up this week, including the SLR Magic 8mm f4. I know that was supposed to come out today, but I have been talking with SLR Magic, and we've been kind of going over several things that we want to do before we actually release the review. So that's postponed to next week, but I will be uploading this review of the A6500 iCup by Chris Engel. It's an amazing thing. But anyway, back on topic. Using something like this on a small camera, you can really get your eye in there so that it blocks out all of the light. Then the argument can be made, you don't need a monitor. You don't actually need a monitor that's big and huge, because you can actually get your eye all the way into the viewfinder, and you can block out all of the sun, and you can actually just focus on getting the proper image and the proper focus that you really want. Now, especially in bright sunlight, using the back of the LCD screen, especially on the A6500, it's just not even possible. And something like the iCup versus having to use an external recorder or an external monitor, I can see could be very beneficial for a lot of people who don't want the extra weight, hassle, and cost of an external recorder. So I just wanted to do this live stream so that I could let you guys know my opinions on why I think you should use an external recorder, the pros, the cons for anyone who is interested in potentially getting an external recorder and shooting with one. So thank you all so much in the live stream. I see there's a couple of you. For some reason, the live chat is not loading for me. I don't know if you guys have been chatting or not, but I apologize. It's just, I don't know what's going on. YouTube's being YouTube. But yeah, check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Instagram at SullyCortez, all one word, on Twitter. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much for checking out the live stream. And if you're in the replay, go ahead and leave some comments down below. Let me know whether or not you guys use an external recorder and which one you do and why. And I'd love to hear your opinions on the matter. And yeah, I'll be doing another live stream next week. Thank you so much. Catch you guys on the flip side.